hero.
No, I know. I'm screaming now.
Yeah. So just a little about this, before we get started. Can we okay? Okay, great. Well, we're very pleasantly surprised to see so many people. We know that people have questions. The presentation tonight is going to go through a number of questions that we received. But I'm sure that there will be more questions and there'll be opportunity to have discussions. That's why we're here. I do want to introduce some folks that are here that will be, most of them will be speaking. And then I'll tell you about the 5 areas that we're going to be covering. So first, we're happy to have Richard Grabowski with us, a member of the Board of Selectmen, Mark McKinney, member of the Board of Selectmen, Maureen Fitzgerald, President and CEO of the YMCA, David Kagan, co-managing principal of Heritage River Village, and the other co-managing principal of Jeff Lethbridge. We have Ed LaChance from the Glendower Group. We're happy that Ryan Ogren is with us as well, Director of Parks and Recreation. Eric is here as well. We appreciate it. Andrew Harrapole, local business owner, is also with us. So various folks will be getting up and talking briefly about certain parts of what we want to talk with you about. There's 5 areas that we're going to be covering. The first is an update on the Route 164 infrastructure project, because obviously that is the crucial component to all this. If it was not for that project, nothing would be able to move forward on 164. We're going to talk about the infrastructure project on the Heritage River Village property. Maureen will speak about the YMCA program. Ed LaChance will be speaking about the mixed-use plazas. And we'll speak a little bit about the Heritage Point Senior Living Community and what that would be offering. So all of this involves the front end of the property. And we'll get into what the infrastructure is all about and how it supports the different components. But what I'd like to do is invite Rich, if you wouldn't mind, to speak for a couple of minutes on infrastructure.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. This is gonna be, I didn't know I was gonna be talking for about 2 hours ago. The Route 164 project, going back to day one many years ago, when zoning came into effect, this area was designated as a commercial zone. It stayed that way for quite a while, obviously. And a few years ago, we generated some interest in that, and we went to referendum, as you may recall, and we got the funding for the sewer and water lines on 164 and supposedly sewer lines on 201. But that was then, and this is now. We have worked together, current board and the past board too, getting funding. Heritage Village has helped us a lot with some of the funding for the water lines, and previous board got some grant from USDA that pays for the sewer line. So we've been blessed at not having to spend taxpayer dollars up to this point. We are the sewer line extension, which goes in front of that gas station on the right-hand side towards the Heritage Village site. That would be started probably in the next few weeks. That contract's been awarded, and the beginning will begin shortly. The water lines, which will go from where I don't know if you're familiar with where the old convalescent home site was. It's got to go over the turnpike and down to the Heritage Village site. That's gonna be going out to bid here in the next week or two, and we hope to get that thing started too. These things take time. Unfortunately, it's not as quickly as we'd all like it to happen, but it's going to happen. We're moving forward, and, when will the project be finished? I don't know. Yeah, just to give you an idea, some of the hurdles that we faced on the sewer lines. They're gonna be laying the pipe now, but there's gotta be a pumping station down by the Heritage Village site. And we're told that the timeline on the equipment for that may take us a year. So to get it fully activated. The water line should go forward without any problem. That'll go on the left side of the road. We can't do them at the same time. The state won't let you do that. You're gonna do one at a time. We are working at funding now for the water tower. We were required to have a water tower on site and negotiating with a landowner. Hopefully we'll have that done shortly. That's as far as I'm going right now. I don't know if anybody has any questions of me, but yes,
Do you know where the water tower is going to be located?
at the end of Barber Road, we hope.
The end of what?
Barber Road, that's
One Berlin.
that's the site where hopefully, we're negotiating with the landowner down there now. Hopefully that'll become a reality in a short period of time. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. So one of the things that it's important to know, and we don't know yet how much buried that water tower is going to be, so we have to decide. That's something that they're still working on. But what this project is going to do, as you can see, it opens up many acres of commercially zoned land for future commercial development, tax revenue, tax generating development. The first property on 164 that will be able to proceed is the Heritage Village project. It's completely approved, local state approvals. They're all done, all testing is done, the site's ready to go. We have all of our site work and civil engineering drawings completed, they're permit ready. And we are submitting an application in collaboration with the YMCA and the Glendower for funding for the first phase infrastructure on the property that will support the YMCA, the two mixed-use plaza buildings, and a portion of the senior living community. The focus is the YMCA and the plaza buildings. And what will be brought in is the water, the sewer, three-phase power, and we'll be cutting in the road systems. That will allow the YMCA to proceed and the mixed use to proceed as well. And then during that process, we'll be working on moving the senior living community forward as well. So Maureen is ready to talk about the YMCA.
Thanks, Jeff. Are there any current YMCA members out in the crowd? Great, wonderful, wonderful. I'm president of the Ocean Community Y. We have a branch in Richmond, Rhode Island. We have a branch in Westerly and one in Mystic. Sorry about my lozenge, but I've got sore throat a little bit, nothing contagious, I promise that, so stay back. So we've been in operations for over 95 years. We serve children anywhere from 6 months old, 6 months old to we have members that are 98 years of age. We have a range of different programs. We know that there's a rec center here. Ryan and I have discussed it. We don't want to compete with the rec department. We want to complement them and work together. So our programs consist of wide varieties, and we'd love to build a full facility YMCA here. We're going to first start with the child care center. There is a great need for childcare. There is a lot of funding through state and federal funding programs that we can accomplish this. And there is a tremendous need in this area and in other areas for childcare. And we would operate that from 6 months into pre-K. We have licensed childcare. What's unique about the YMCA is no one is denied access for their inability to pay. So we raise funds every year. We just completed our annual support campaign. We raised close to $600,000 in 6 weeks. And we give that money out to send children to camp, to have memberships for seniors, for teen nights, for a wide variety of after-school programs. So that's, we'd be following the same models here for this town. We would love to come here. We see it as a community resource to help your community continue to be healthy in wellness and preventive diseases. Some of the programs we're running currently, we have a Live Strong program for people that are fighting cancer or that have survived cancer. We have pedaling for Parkinson's. We have Matter of Balance, which helps older people with their balance and keeping them safe. All of those are free of service if you're a YMCA member. That's included in your membership. So the child care center, again, would have various rooms. It would be licensed. All the employees would be criminal background checked with an education background. And it is on the complex and so there's infants and preschool. That would be the first goal, to get that done, up and running. The next is the YMCA itself, and there'd be a full-size gymnasium that can do basketball, volleyball, pickleball, all the above, all the things I just mentioned. We have multi-purpose rooms similar to this, that you can have various programs for teens, youth, seniors, families, birthday parties. Child watch is different than child care. Child watch, if you're a member, you can come in, drop your child off free of charge, and go and work out in the facility. So even if you're a grandparent, they can come in free of charge if you're a member, and you can, and they're supervised, and you can go and do your program. Kids Adventure is for some older children, obstacle courses, fun, very creative things that are going into YMCA's now, because Child Watch usually goes up to maybe kindergarten, and then there's an in-between, so we use for Kids Adventure. Studios would be right there, and that's where you do spinning, exercise programs, like I spoke about, Live Strong programs, any of those types of things. And then, of course, locker rooms and the pool, the natatorium. Everybody wants a pool. It is the most expensive thing to build, and it's the most expensive thing to run. So we want to do that, but we're gonna have to have a lot of support from the community and the state and the federal government to make that happen. And other surrounding towns, because this could be a regional pool that would help serve some additional towns. So that's the YMCA, and then on the second floor would be the wellness center, and that's where all the weights and equipment are. And that's roughly 7,500 square feet. If you've ever been to our Mystic Center, that's about 7,500 square feet. The outside of the building, this is the early childhood center below, and then the view for the YMCA is above. We use the same architect team that redesigned the Mystic Y and the Westerly Y. And they designed over 600 YMCA's across the United States. We've done, marketing penetration surveys, and there's a need. People would love a YMCA. We know that once it's built, there's enough people to support it through membership. So that's, we've done our due diligence. Now we need the community's help, the state, and the federal government to help us bring this to fruition. Happy to answer any other questions.
How much is membership?
How much, depending on the category, so we have a single adult, we have seniors, we have family. So family is roughly, and that's 2 adults and your children under 21, and that's close to about $950 a year. We have monthly payments. An adult, I believe, is about 65, but I need to double check that, I should know that. And seniors, there's a lower amount for seniors. And then we have youth membership. Yes, sir.
You said that you're gonna do the child care first, and then the fitness center, and maybe eventually the pool. What time frame are we talking between each evolution?
That all depends on the funds that are available and the funds that are being raised. So if we continue to receive grants from the state, the federal government, local donations, everything moves in a positive direction sooner than later. There is a lot of childcare money out there with the state of Connecticut, with the federal government, and that's why we've chosen to focus on that first.
What would be the capacity of the child care center?
Like 75 children. Now, some of those children will maybe only come 3 days a week, so it might be more children, but if they all came 5 days a week, 75.
So is there a guarantee that it would full like go right into a pool, or we just, if you get comfortable and it's like, oh, child care is good, so we scrap the rest of the project and then leave us with like, oh, but they said we were gonna have a pool, they said we were gonna have this, and then you ride off into the sunset, like that's happening.
Well, we never ride off into the sunset, but we will never start a project unless we know the funding is coming. So we've raised in the last 20 years, close to $18 million throughout our association. And we have a finance committee that looks at budget performance. We have capital campaign committees that there's a lot of stops and goes along the way. So no, we wouldn't do that, but we wouldn't say, I can't stand here tonight and say it's all going to happen because we don't have the funds yet. So it's a lot more these types of meetings and communicating how the funding is coming and what we're going to do with that funding.
I have 2 questions. Do you have to be a member to use the childcare?
No, the child care building, no,
Yeah, in other words, could you enroll your children in childcare even if you were not a member?
correct,
Okay, because that would be a separate cost for that, but.
correct.
you know.
And you pay a higher cost if you're a non-member than a member.
And my other question is, with the new senior center that we have and the programming that goes on there and the youth center and so forth, what makes you feel that this would be viable and that it's needed?
Well, we've done some studies, as I previously mentioned, in the type of facility, the wellness centers and some of the pool, for instance, which I know everybody wants, they're not in this as a community right now. So those are the main thrusts. Again, we're not going to compete with what's already established here, without a doubt.
You're a nonprofit, right?
We are a nonprofit. No tax. But we have a lot of programs. We employ a lot of people, townspeople, or from surrounding towns. We make the communities safer by having a safe place for children to go with supervision. Day camp is a strong possibility. It's a gathering place, just like this place is, for various people, all walks of life. It's an inclusive organization.
You mentioned employment, what are your approximate employment numbers
Currently, we employ over 500 people.
for this site? What would be
Oh.
approximate employment numbers?
Most likely, it would be really modeled after the Mystic site. So there's about 9 full-time directors, membership, executive director, and then we probably have 120 part-time people. That could be one wellness instructor teaching spinning once a week. In the summer, it goes up because we have 225 children attend a day camp for 10 weeks. So the number inflates.
Thank you.
Yes,
You mentioned when you go further on in the second and third phases, that it's contingent upon funding and community support. Can you elaborate on that community support and what the expectation would be from our community?
happy to. We have said, the why to the group sitting here, that we feel confident we could, the why in the community, through businesses, individuals, raise about $2 million of the total project cost. And that's community support. So that may be a pledge of 50,000 from a community member, and it could mean a pledge of $1,000 or $100. We, again, raised $5.5 million in Westerly 12 years ago. We raised $5 million in Mystic, and we probably had 400 to 500 donors in each of those campaigns. We get some large gifts, and we get some small gifts. It all adds up. And we will be successful with that amount. Yes.
What is the total funding you need to complete the light and, other improvements that are within for childcare and everything? else? What's that total number approximately?
It's anywhere from right now, today, but there's escalation costs, anywhere from 25 million to, could be 30,000 to 30 million. Worcester's 30,000. Yes,
You mentioned the funding you were talking about, those Westerly and Mystic and working and working with Democratic is totally different. So what studies have you done to show that you're going to be able to raise that funding and have it contribute to projects and guarantee that's going to happen?
we've done some research on different foundations that exist in this area that we've already benefited from. There are some existing ones that we need to build relationships with. We're starting with a low number because we know it's different demographics. We're counting on a lot of federal funding, we're counting on a lot of state funding. Or the possibility of scaling back the project and the magnitude of it.
Maureen, we have also talked with some of the surrounding communities as well.
I've also been in contact with surrounding communities that would be willing to help, but everybody wants a pool. So that's another option. Our architects and the 500 Ys they've done have worked a lot with these types of situations, developer, retail, the Y on the site, and it's worked, and we're modeling those. So we know we're not the first one out of the gate. There's been several across the United States that are very, very successful.
Then not paying taxes back into the community, are there other programs, side of the mission that are going to contribute back to the community that they don't pay those taxes?
Yes, the employment of employing people, I think goes back to the community. Also, all the different types of programs that we run, like I said, makes the community healthier. We also give out, we raise 600,000, we usually give out 800,000 in scholarships. And that goes directly back to the community. For the people that can't afford the service, but we want to include them in the YMCA.
So years ago, there was a YMCA law, and everybody knows it closed due to funding and stuff like that. So Griswold is a distressed community, and Westerly and Mystic are, you know, very ritzy, want to call it. So my question is you say you did all your research and everything. Well, we are a distressed community. You think it's gonna maintain?
Yes, because I want to clarify, the shoreline, yes, there's a lot of well in boats, but they're not year round. And not a lot of them in those areas. What we count on our operating revenue is our membership base. And that's what we calculated here of the number of households within, and we know this, within a 7 to 10 minute drive to where the location is, most people are going to join. You're not going to join if you're 20 minutes away and make that drive unless you're coming to, you're sending your child to swim on the swim team, if it's a specialty. It's just, and we run these things all the time. So we feel confident based on the number of households in that 7 to 8 minute mile or drive time that we can support an operating budget.
And I noticed that facility is for the gymnasium workout, there's small spaces there, names or corporations who are contributing. Buildings.
We will take that approach as well, and we have that, it's the Knight YMCA, it's named after the Knight family that were very generous. All the rooms were named and naming opportunities, yes, we would do the same approach. Yes.
Modeling on the Mystic Live you mentioned earlier, how many emergency calls do you normally get annually to the facility? And just so we can have an idea of what our emergency service is.
Sure, good question. It all depends on the day. We've had 3 in one day, believe it or not, and then we'll go 5 months and not have them. So it's hard to say. Safety is first and foremost on everything we do. Everyone is certified in the building with CPR, first aid. There's a lot of sprained ankles or something like that we can take care of, but we've had some, heart attacks, all of that. So, you know, I don't think, I would say an ambulance hasn't been to that Y more than 8 times in a year. As soon as I say that, they'll be there all day.
Thank you, Maureen. Scholarship funds, Maureen, back to Tom, Maureen. So scholarship funds, so in the communities where you operate, scholarship funds go to residents, town residents. And, what kind of dollars do we typically see as far as scholarships funds?
Well, we just raised 600,000, so we'll give out close to 800,000.
Okay.
Now that's 3 demographics. Mystic just raised 210,000.
So funds going back into the community, but also the property, the land that the facility will be on will be a tax-paying entity. So there will be taxes coming up. Every pad site on Heritage River Village will be generating tax revenues. Not only from property taxes, but also we're looking at probably at least 200 jobs created throughout the property. Those are tax-paying individuals as well. So every pad site, that's part of the design. And we're trying, we're going to talk a little bit about the commercial component, which will also be generating tax revenue.
My experience with you paying full taxes, like $500,000 from YMCA generated. Not getting, I would say not paying taxes for 10 years, 20 years, and then.
As a nonprofit, nonprofits generally don't pay.
No, I know.
But the property will be paying taxes, and like I said, but none of that has been factored in yet, because like you said, properties have to be, raised. Okay, so, what I wanted to do also is ask, Ryan if he could say a couple of words about the youth program and potential opportunities between your programming and Y.
Thank you. Hello, I think I know most of everybody in the room. So as a YMCA member, I'm speaking, I go to Putnam almost all the time. So when you look at YMCA's and youth services, we have mutual goals, right? We want to make families and individuals really focus on healthy living at a very young age. And, fitness, wellness, exercise, it all goes with that. Social equity is hugely important. Like everything we do through our programming, we make affordable, right? And then we have scholarships on our side. YMCA does the same thing. If you look at programming through the YMCA, they have wonderful basketball programs, things like that. Things that we really can't do because of facility space that we could actually work together, which is wonderful. But also like summer camps, there's two different types of camps. Summer camp at YMCA is usually successful too. But who we serve through, residents are first, right? Everything we do in the mind of residents, and we can still do programming as the norm, even with the YMCA there. Work with other, recreation directors that have huge YMCA's in their town, they still are running functional recreational programming. So if you look at it, a lot of people are, well, you're shooting yourself in the foot, right? You have the YMCA coming and offer these programs. We're not, because the YMCA offers professional and certified instructors for like Zumba, yoga, all these things that as a town, we can't really sustain, right? That'd be more money asking the taxpayers to offer something YMCA is already ready to go. The other aspect too is kind of like the lifespan benefit, right? All ages served. So if I'm going to the gym or my wife's at the gym, my kids are in childcare. They're now seeing their parents trying to live a healthy lifestyle. The snowball effect is, the community effect that everybody kind of forms that way, and it's community benefit. We also want to work together, and I appreciate you guys being so open with us. I'll have my co-director Phil come up, but we want to offer new programming that we really couldn't do without like a facility like a YMCA. Come on up, my friend.
Ed is next, but he only has 4 minutes.
Oh, sure.
How do you want to come up, Bill and Jim?
I'll just be quick.
Okay.
I'll let them know I'm not trying to cut the run.
So, Bill, you want to come up?
Yeah. The idea is to do as much as we can for our community, leaning on the YMCA and working together in collaboration, everything we do from that forward. So,
Last call. Thank you everyone having me here today, Ryan. So yeah, I am Ryan's director. I know young services, and a big part of the job is where I just came from, the Person Youth Center in town. And I find that in my years working at the youth center, both as director, but also as just a former worker at the youth center, I find that our demographics age-wise, once the kids hit about 9th grade, they begin to kind of fizzle out. And that's for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's because they start working at the youth center, so it becomes a kind of cycle. They start going as a kid, they get old enough, we see potential in them. They kind of learn a little bit from us. They've seen the environment. They want to be there. They want to stay there, but they're more productive and as in a professional capacity. And so they end up working with us. That's great. Other kids are occupied with interests and programs like that, high school and things like that. Once they get to high school sports, they might be playing a lot more games, more practices, things like that. Just not in a facilities at the center. And so as a result of that, there's times where you see kids that, are stable at the youth center, they're there for years, they kind of, go their separate ways. And it's one of those things where I feel like anyone who's raised a child or who works with kids in any sort of capacity can probably relate to this in the sense that every child is kind of like oafish, kind of happy. At some point, you have time with them, you do what you can to serve them in that time, but at some point you have to go. And you just hope for the best. And you're always there if they come back, if you need anything, of course, but sometimes you let go, you see them down the road, making a touchdown. That's great. Sometimes you see them on stage and star like this, virtual drama production. And that's also inspiring. Other times, we end up with a child who a couple of years after leaving our facility and after a few years of high school, they end up with code. And it's those kids that, we're always kind of looking for different ways to serve kids outside of that incentive bracket in that teenage kind of range. And so as a result of that, naturally, I'm going to be considering and listen to, any services potentially serve and bring positive experiences for those kids that don't actually serve the academic sector like this. And to be clear, I don't mean to frame this solely as like a desperate attempt to save the hopeless scores of children. I think that there's a lot of proactive positives here, benefits before things go bad. I think there's also a lot of benefits to kids that are already kind of on the skating path. So I'm imagining, student athletes in high school who want to, keep practicing fitness off season. I'm thinking also of kids who might have multiple interests or sort of high prides itself being a school that raises multiple students that are able to kind of pursue multiple interests at once. They can be a music kid and an athlete at the same time. Sometimes it's a little bit of a whatever reason not able to participate in everything they want to. So having another option like this, some alternatives that's been offered by the Y, I think is another plus. Moreover, as Ryan was kind of alluding to, we're already kind of in talks potentially, to be collaborating with the Y here, and of course, to essentially be offering a sort of team space at Y, a sort of new center for kids to work for our moment at this point. And thinking of how they might be able to serve here in terms of employment, how they might be able to serve here in terms of recreation. I just see a lot of opportunities here. So thank you for the time. Thank you, Ryan. This is a public meeting tonight, and I'm glad that I can be here in part because I'm a piece of the public, I have a perspective, and also really value the fact that I am just one perspective. And I really am interested in hearing what everyone else has to say tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Phil. That deserves an hour in the general information session. Lots of information. So Ed has a few minutes. He's going to speak about the mixed use plaza buildings, and then he's got to race off and pick up his daughter. So Ed.
Can I ask a question before, just back to the why and the collaboration with, our rec department? When you talk about collaborating and having some, town events or town programs there, what exactly is the collaboration? Would the town have to rent space at the Y, or how would that work?
It all can be determined, and I'm not trying to dodge the question, but we do a little bit of both. We rent facilities, but we also, we have town rec programs using some of them because they give us some space if we're doing some other, programming. So for instance, this room, maybe we use for some at Y activity, and because it's a town, we let the town rec department use one of ours. So all the above.
Thank you.
Ed.
I'll be quick, because I do have to race off to pick up my middle schooler. And if I don't get there by 8 o'clock in Southington, I'll probably be living in one of these apartments. And the reason I can be quick is it's still kind of early, right? We're still in the early planning stages. So I can tell you what a general plan is. I can't give you a lot of detail. There'll be 2 buildings there is our plan, 25 residential units in each one on the 2nd and 3rd floor. And commercial on the 1st floor. No, that's okay. In terms of businesses, like I said, we're still in conjunction with Heritage Village doing the market studies. We don't exactly, have a distinct plan for what businesses would go there. Space is being designed. We have 5 or 6 spaces in each building for commercial. But when you do commercial buildings, you can combine those depending on what interest we get and what works best for the town. We're floating around a lot of ideas talking with First Selectmen, so that's kind of still in the plan. But that's so there would be 1st floor commercial, up to 5 businesses in each building, could be less, won't be more. In terms of the units, most of the units are 1 and 2 bedrooms. There's a few 3 bedrooms mixed in, most are 1 or 2. We know that there'll be an income range. We don't know what that income range is yet because we don't have the funding figured out, much like the Y. Once we kind of take that next step and finalize design, we then try to put together all the different funding sources. So there'll definitely be market rate units there. There'll be some restricted units there. If we get more funding, say from the State Department of Housing that's funding the Cluggage Village, which is actually, I used to work with the Department of Housing for about 30 years for Farmington, New Haven. You know, that would set different income ranges, maybe up to 80 and 100% AMI people, you know, which is clearly working families. But we'll figure that out more as we go through. Again, 1 to 2 bedrooms, so we call it family, but it's open to anybody. It's open to elderly, it's open to anybody. In terms of taxation, any market rate unit that's unrestricted is fully taxed, the commercial would be fully taxed. And whatever restricted units are, it's kind of dependent on what's gonna be there, how much taxes they would pay. And how will it benefit Town Griswold? So this, in addition to the taxes, we'll have, at least 4 full-time employees at the 2 buildings, maybe more, but probably 4, a couple maintenance techs, a couple managers. I mean, to me, I'm a housing person, right? So the biggest issue for me is everybody needs housing that they can afford to live in anywhere in the state. You know, I grew up in New Britain, I worked in Hartford, I live in Southington now, I work in New Haven. Anywhere you go, we need more housing. So it's a great way to, especially with 1 and 2 bedrooms, it could be people starting off, could be people, you know, and that are elderly, that have a stable place to live. And that, to me, that's the biggest benefit. And I understand that taxes are important, we all got to carry our own, right? But it's also, it makes it a full community. So if you imagine it's constructed, you know, between the Y and the wellness that Jessica talked about, it really makes it a kind of well-rounded little community there. It's kind of, I think it would spur the area for more growth. There's got to be some questions on house. Okay, what's up?
And my question is, who will market the commercial aspect?
I mean, that's something we have to work out with Jeff. Usually your property manager, whoever we choose, would do both. Because you don't want to pay 2 property managers, so you'd have to have a property manager that was experienced in both housing and some commercial marketing. You can't afford to manage the place and pay 2 different people.
So you mentioned there'd be 25 residential units in each building, so 50.
50 total, that's the current plan.
How many of those will be restricted?
Don't really know yet. I honestly don't really know yet. I mean, we could be anywhere from 40 to 80%, I would say, depending on what the funding sources are. Probably the least we would do to be able to get a lot of other, we always want to spend other people's money with the 40% restricted. It could be 80, but again, those restrictions could depend on what funding sources. So CHFA and DOH have restricted units that go up over average income. That go what we call 120% AMI, which is, I should probably have it in front of me, but if for a family of 4, it's a pretty healthy dollar amount. It's still considered, you know, affordable, even though it's 120% of the area median income for that family. Yeah, 2 more, at least. Go on. I'm not forgetting you. I'm not forgetting you.
Hey, so, or you may have written
You.
So the biggest thing about the project that everybody's concerned about is the revenue coming from that. What's the town going to benefit from this? And when this first came out, before I got involved, it was, I guess, the commercial footprint was much larger than we're hearing about today. So what is the square footage of the commercial footprint?
And, all right, so the 2 plaza buildings are just one component of the commercial. You got about 30,000 square feet, total there. Senior living is a commercial operation. We are looking at the possibility of adding another commercial building. And I'll address that when he's finished, but when he's done, I'll talk a little bit more about it.
And also, third question is when you talk about restricted, unrestricted, that's a big question. Talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've been working in housing for over 35 years now. I understand that, you know, concerns that people bring to the table. You know, what I've learned over all my time is that I know there are a lot of people in Griswold, because there are a lot of people everywhere that could use good stable housing, right? So, and again, what income ranges we serve is really dependent on what funding sources we could get. I'm not trying to be difficult, it really depends. I'll say, like I said, as with the workforce housing program, no one's gotten any money yet. So I can't say we're gonna go get that, but we're gonna look at it, for sure.
Well, we're concerned with the impact of all these people coming. How it's gonna impact our schools. How it's gonna impact our emergency services.
Yeah, there's like half the units are one bedroom. So they're gonna be either single people starting off or elderly. So there's not a lot, I mean, I don't know what the total bedrooms are, I want to say.
So there's 56 apartments altogether between the two buildings.
So probably 110 to one in total bedrooms, it's not gonna happen, I mean, we'd have to figure that out, we can look at it more closely, I don't think there's a big impact.
But if someone's one bedroom will more than pay for whatever additional services would be. The whole objective of the tax plan is that it's pumping more revenue into the town. So more than pays for itself. And the workforce that's being developed, are going to provide local businesses, regional businesses with in the high. So these people need to be working. Older residents need stable incomes. Younger people need to be showing their income.
And like for housing in general, it's not a lot of job creation itself, permanent job creation, but the commercial definitely will. And the construction actually creates a lot of jobs. It's surprising how many jobs it creates. And what we normally do is we would gear job fairs and business fairs for municipal. It's a priority. A lot of times, what we've been seeing in New Haven is there's such a need for the trades right now. When somebody gets their foot in the doors, maybe even just a laborer, they end up sticking with the job. So right now is a really good time to be. I'm trying to tell my grader to go into construction. I don't know if it's gonna work, but. Any questions?
Yeah, Jeff, what would be your estimate of the percentage of the project that is actually fully taxed? What percentage of the project?
Yeah, in terms of the housing or everything.
No, the whole, well, all right, now that you've raised that question, break it down to the house and every tax.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I don't want to speak for, won't speak for the Board of Selectmen, right? But we know the market rates, however many there are always fully taxable. The commercial will be fully taxable. If we would need some type of reduced taxation for the affordable, we don't know that, and it has to be approved by the town. We can't just assume that.
Yeah.
So we can't do anything without town when it comes to that.
The senior living would be, obviously taxed, fully, the whole project would be taxed. We are looking at, reducing the housing, the future housing rentals and introduce more home ownership. If we're doing that, those homes are going to be paying taxes. So the plan is, as Maureen was talking about, strengthening community health. We want to strengthen the community economically, not only from a revenue standpoint, but also in terms of bringing people to town that are going to be working for local businesses that are struggling, recruiting and retaining people.
And I really do have to run. I left my email. Go ahead.
Of these housing, I believe you said there was 56, how many are gonna be handicapped accessible?
At least 10%, but we plan to, so that's a state law, right? You have to have at least 10%. But we have elevators in each building, so what we tend to do is like, there's two types of handicap. There's type A, which is they're already prepared for someone in a wheelchair. There's a type B, which is easily adaptable, like you could lower the kitchen shelf. So we would do 10% fully adaptable, and add probably another 10% of that, that are like type B adaptable at a minimum. And it's all gonna be elevated. So the good thing is, and all of, like every bathroom we build, whatever we build now, there's always space to maneuver chairs and them, but even if they're not considered fully accessible.
Every unit will at least have, be designed based on universal design principles, which means that, you may not necessarily be, have some physical challenges at that point, but if it happens later on,
the space would be flexible enough that you'd be able to get around and to be able to reach up and lower. So, and that also includes the tubs, you know, for one bedroom, we may just have the showers, so step-in showers. So even if it's not quote unquote accessible, we're gonna make them universal design.
And again, I left my email, feel free to email me or Jeff, and I'll get back. How many French people here? The French people always represent me here. There you go, I love John's, you know, I have.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. You know, it's not paying
Compared the project to Westerly, and they have paid police, and it's always been a concern of mine that we're lacking response time, quick response time.
Are you referring to the YMCA? As far as Western?
Westerly has paid police,
Oh,
and you compared that project to Bristol. And I just looked up the stats on, how many citizens are in Westerly here, and it's Westerly's a little bit bigger, but not by much, and now you add this project on. I'm wondering if we should be allowing some exception for paid police here, because I think we're on the verge of that should probably happen anyway.
Probably a town conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Okay,
it's part of the conversation.
So I do want to ask, we do have a business owner here, tonight, and, it's Mr. Harold Cole. And, if he wouldn't mind, just talking about what you think about the project, opportunities from a business owner standpoint.
Sure, appreciate it. Hey guys doing? I'm Andrew from Petromax, most of you know me. I'm excited to see a project of this scale coming into town. This is gonna be my 10th year in business in town. We need more like that, you know. I live in Glastonbury, I frequent West Hartford, I've had businesses in West Hartford and other towns. I have models as such in place, and it really does drive the local economy. Right now, we don't have much for destination for the youth. We don't have much for, you know, people between the ages of just kind of broad scale 21 to 40s to do something besides going to the casino. So maybe this commercial space could be entertaining spaces. It could be more restaurants, which also creates jobs. Beyond that, there's a lot of jobs that aren't too far away that are in the corporate level and living. I would say, EB and it's only like 20-30 minutes away or less. So people they will travel to live in a situation like this where they can travel to work and it's not too far within range. So I mean, I'm just excited to see something happen on the street other than another gas station or whatever the case is, just something else that will bring more to the town and bring more value to our town. Right, thank you.
So, just before, I'm gonna proceed on to the Heritage Point Senior Living, but before I get into that, so when we're talking about potential businesses for the commercial space, you know, the South Plaza building has a drive-through design. So we're talking with banks, we're talking with pharmacies. We would like to see a couple more restaurants come in, some personal services, health services come in. So, and that process has already begun. So when you're talking about how will the commercial space be marketed, we're already in that process of talking with potential businesses and not waiting for it to actually be built. What I have behind me is the front portion of the Heritage Point Senior Living building. It's a beautiful building, and when we first designed this and got it fully approved, it was approved for 210 units, and there was 2 phases. What you're looking at is the main complex, the first phase. Behind that is a memory supported, standalone, facility, which would be our second phase. But what we decided to do is to reduce the density and combine the two programs and actually reduce the size, the number of units, and then see where the market takes us. So what you're seeing behind me would actually be probably 163 units of combined memory supported, independent living, assisted living. And we are exploring ways in which we could introduce living options for people at lower income levels. So there would be, we want to be able to support older adults at different income levels. So if we do that, and we wait on the back portion, where we had the standalone memory support, that gives us an opportunity to leave that pad site open for now, because it could very well be, and we're hearing a lot of people coming to us, we're seeing a lot of people coming to us asking about the idea of a potential small grocer. And we are very open to doing that. If it works for the town, we're open to do that. And instead of doing the phase 2 senior living, we could make that pad site available for a standalone commercial building. And if it's a small grocer, great. If it's something else, great, as long as it's revenue. If it's tax paying and it's providing a service or a resource or an amenity that residents would find extremely helpful, particularly those folks that are living on campus. So the timeline for, I'm sorry, yeah, sure.
When you say you're leaving something open, that sounds lovely. And then pretty soon what you're thinking is, 3 bedrooms, low income housing, and our school system is now.
Yeah, not that pad site, yeah. That pad site would be strictly for a commercial building only.
And we would have that guarantee.
Yeah, we're not planning on doing any more housing than what the property's been approved before.
So you said earlier that you did reduce living somewhere, and you said that you reduced living, and you're referring to this specifically, that you went from 210 to 163?
Yes,
So are we gonna talk about that project too?
we're a little ways away from that. I think having more of these sessions where we can all get together and have these conversations, we can talk to you about what we're thinking, what we're planning.
So I don't understand, like, you presented to the P and D commission.
Yeah,
You had 210, and we were looking at numbers with the other type of housing that you
Yeah.
offered. So now we're just reducing it to less percentage than what we kind of agreed upon, which I think I was very much for the done here. I like the initial project presented, you're,
right, well, a couple of things to keep in mind. It's a very good point. And we're looking at this from a variety of different perspectives. One is market demand, cost of construction, cost of capital, but it's really market demand. Do we reduce, and I'm talking specifically about Heritage Point, you mentioned that we were approved for 210 units. I think it was 212, but whatever. What we're saying is that we do a portion of the project and we leave the other portion available for commercial. So instead of, because we understand that we want to maintain a feasible number of living units, feasible for the town, and for the project. So if we start on the first phase of this, and we see how this goes, and if another opportunity comes up for that open space for a commercial building, small grocery or whatever, that is just as attractive to us, because not only does it bring essential services, but it also brings, it continues bringing tax revenue. Yes.
So with this heritage, home for the elderly, how many, units are going to be for the, alert-oriented residents, and how many are going to be for the dementia or memory
Memories, who need memory support?
Yeah.
So in the model that we're looking at currently, we have 27 units for people needing memory support, living environments. So, and that's a healthy number for this market because we had market studies done, so 27 is a good number for us.
You know, as a nurse, I see more patients that have dementia that would need more support.
I'm sure it is an issue, but, we're trying to maintain balance here. So,
I actually drop that, sorry. So the dementia part, you said the memory part was phase two though, so the dementia 27 units part is phase one.
yeah, we're looking at, bringing that into the main building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so what was the tax revenue like versus like brochure that you're talking to do phase two versus the whole memory care?
Yeah, we haven't done that analysis. It's a little bit further out. We don't know what kind of program would be going there. This is it for the presentation. Hopefully we provided you with a lot of information, to let you know where we're going, how we're getting there, the timeline and so forth. We will conclude this evening. I think it's running a little late. There will be a follow-up meeting on June 5th. So a week from today, June 5th, we will have another one. So, yes.
Do you have a June 5th or estimation on when you're gonna have the answer?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an idea when you're gonna have final answers to present to people or
Pertaining to what?
final plan, like you said, you know, have that estimate sent on Monday?
Well, we'll continue having these sessions. So as we hit different milestones, yes, we'll come back. I don't know yet. It's very- still hard. Okay, final question, gentlemen.
Yeah, we've heard, as president of the town, we've heard about this project for over 10 years and 5 for what? And we're still going to change iterations and everything. It's costing us taxpayers to pay the wages of selectmen for you guys to keep changing your plan. When are you gonna find the finals and get things rolling?
Well, the evolution of the project has been in large part based on what we hear is needed and what the market studies are dictating. So it does evolve. And yes, this has been going on with David and I and our team for many, many years, and a lot of investment dollars put into it on our end as well. So we've had situations where things were had to slow down. The pandemic, we lost time there. We are continually having to evolve the project as construction costs soar and the cost of capital soars. It requires us to figure out how we're going to keep this process going, but also having the dialogue with people like you and everyone else. We make some, not in a vacuum. We do this through communication, make adjustments that we believe will be better for the town, not only from a revenue standpoint, but from a service, from a living environment. Everything that we're doing it because we want to serve the town. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.